All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. Let me make sure that my sound is working. All right, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us for another Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. I'm so excited. Today, we're going to continue the conversation on program and service development. If you missed any of the sessions from this month, you definitely want to go back and check it out. You'll find it pinned at the top of this group and also in the guide section. So last week, we had Deborah Pedraza come on and talk about the importance of program and services and the connection to donors. And then also the importance of us as leaders remaining connected to our programs and services in order to be able to continue to bring those donations in and share our story in a better manner. So definitely make sure that you check that out. If you're here and you know that there's a friend, your nonprofit friend need to be tuning in and listening to some tips when it comes to developing your program and services for your organizations, go ahead and tag them, invite them to the group first if they're not in the group, and tag them into the chat. And if you're here, give me a hey, how you doing, so that I know that you're here. And we're going to get started shortly. Give us a hashtag replay if you're catching us on replay so that we know that you are here. We're going to give it a few minutes for others to join us. I know we're about a minute early, and then we're going to get started. But in the meanwhile, I am here. I'm looking at the post about replace one word in a movie title with nonprofit, and I am just rolling. Like, I looked at that post like several times, and some of the titles you all came up with is so funny. We have the Nonprofit of Oz instead of the Wizard of Oz. I'm like, hilarious. The best nonprofit, all about the nonprofit. What's your nonprofit got to do with it? You all came up with some really good stuff. Nonprofit forever, Wakanda forever, nonprofit forever. Amazing. I am just rolling looking at these. Good morning, Shamante. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to continue the conversation on programs and services and why this is so important. Because if your organization does not have a strong program programs in place, that can impact your organization overall. You all heard me share this example. To me, it's like walking into a restaurant with no menu. You have nothing to sell, nothing in which you need donations for. So it's important that we have really good program and services in place. So today, I'm just going to share a few tips to consider when developing successful programs. So making sure that you must have some of these things in place in order to have a strong program. And again, if you missed any of our other lives on this topic, make sure you go to the guide sections. We have talked about this all last year. We continue to talk about it this month. Go ahead and check out the guide section for some more tips in this area. So one thing you definitely want to do is make sure that your program has a clear objective. And there's a live that I definitely want you all to go back and check out that was with Debbie Pedraza. It was around October last year. You'll find this in the guides where she talked about looking at your outcomes along with your resources. The OMR method is what she, methods and resources. And what I loved about it is the whole thing around that was not to let your resources drive the way you do things, but instead looking at your objective first. What is your goals for your program? Why are you doing this program? And then kind of working the other way, which is easy to say, hey, I got this staff, I got this funding, now let's build a program. But the way that method works, if you're doing the reverse, so that way everyone continuously have the goals in mind. So making sure that you have a clear objective, you definitely want to have that for your programs. And I know what we've been doing is when it's time to develop if we're launching something new, or like a series of programs, we'll sit down as a team and kind of reflect on why are we doing this and what is our goals as a result of doing this program. And we even do that with the events as well. What do we want to see at the end of this? So just making sure that you keep that in mind and it's at the forefront of your program planning. The next thing is a strategic plan. You definitely want to have some sort of strategic plan in place to make sure that your programs align with your overall organization strategic plan. We talk a lot about having a logic model. We can't talk about it enough. And a logic model allows you to dive into this strategic planning process. So definitely making sure that you have that. So making sure in order to have a strong program that you have a strategic plan in place and that your program connects with that overall plan along with your mission, vision, and core values of your organization. Good morning, Dolly. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so we just shared 2, clear objectives, strategic plan. So the next thing is having effective leadership. You definitely want to have strong leadership within your nonprofit organization. This is very, very crucial as it affects every area, including your staff, your volunteer teams. And you want to make sure that your leadership is, they understand the mission, they understand why you're doing what you're doing and the goals and overall objectives of the program. Because, you know, having a strong leadership or having a not so strong leadership can impact the direction of the development of your program. So making sure that you have effective leadership. Sustainable funding. Yes, yes, yes. I know a lot of times I hear organizations, especially sometimes newer organizations, hey, we got our 501c3. Now we need the money. But you have to have this program, the strong foundation in place in order to be able to not only get the funding in, but sustain the funding. So you'll notice I say sustainable funding. So now you have this beautiful program. What do you need? That sustainable funding to keep it going, right? So whether that's grants, donations, whether you're hosting fundraising events, corporate sponsorships, making sure that you have that funding so that you can sustain your program overall. And one thing is also making sure that your funding is diverse. If your organization is getting a lot of funding, let's say from grants, what's some other ways that you can get funding in? That's important because let's say if one funding source go down, let's say, and this has happened where it's kind of like, let's say funders taking back funding due to, you know, recession or whichever, your organization is not fully, you know, you have a backup plan pretty much. You want to have a plan A, B, C, D, and, you know, so forth. So sustainable funding, making sure you have sustainable funding. All right, so skilled staff and volunteers. You definitely want to make sure that you have skilled staff and volunteers, and also training your staff and volunteers. We got to put that at the forefront. And I know it's so easy as nonprofit professionals, and I've been there, and you all probably can relate where you've been in positions within the sector and you just had to figure it out and learn it. Imagine how much time it would have saved everybody if there are some training components in there to kind of help give you the tools that you need up front so that you could be successful versus spending more time trying to learn the concepts and then implement. So making sure that you have skilled staff and volunteers, and also investing in training in order to support those skilled staff and your volunteers as well. You definitely want to have a regular training program for your volunteers, especially as they work in their different areas within the nonprofit organization. So don't forget about that. A robust evaluation and monitoring system. Yes, you want to go back and evaluate and take a look at your organization and see if your programs are being effective. So that way you're making data-driven decisions. I love this. I've seen programs, and I love when I see programs invest in this piece where they're like, hey, I want to, you can do it internally, or some programs, they will invest in external monitors or evaluators coming out and taking a look at their program, providing that feedback and using that in order to improve their programs. But making sure that you have some sort of evaluation and monitoring system in place. The cool thing is, I remember when I first started, when I founded our nonprofit organization, back then we was using spreadsheets for everything, right? And the cool thing is we don't really have to do that no more. There is a system, there is something that automates like all of this. I was just looking into some new, membership management systems for client, like in order to monitor the clients. And I know at some points there are some very expensive ones, but then I looked, there's some free low cost, no cost systems in place that do really well to take you from that spreadsheet. So there, nothing's wrong with a spreadsheet, y'all. But there are a lot of really cool systems to help you kind of gather and track the progress of your programs. How many people are we serving? How often are they coming? What's our average daily attendance looking like, depending on the type of area that you're in. So making sure that you have that evaluation and monitoring built in. Don't wait until you get the funding to build that part in. You want that even for yourself to be able to track, is our program successful? And last but not least, collaboration and partnership. You definitely do not want to do it alone. You want to lean on each other, making sure that you have partners that align with your mission and the goals of your organization that you could call on, and you all could have a greater impact because everybody's doing their piece of the pie. I like to say, I look at it partnership like a potluck. You might have, let's say we're going to somebody's house, and then we have the person bringing the salad, the meat, the drinks, all of that stuff. In order to make it a good time, you want to make sure that you have that in order to make sure you have a strong program. So we went over making sure your program has clear objectives, it aligns with your strategic plan, having effective leadership, and that also buys into and understands the mission of the organization and the programs, sustainable funding. You want to have skilled staff and volunteers, a robust evaluation and monitoring plan in place, and collaboration and partnerships. So those are some of the keys that you want to make sure that you implement in order to have a successful program. Continue to tune in. Next week, we're going to have Shamika's going to be joining us, and we're going to be from Catalyst Coaching, and we're going to be talking about some more into programs. So you definitely want to tune in then. If you missed any of our previous ones, I'm telling you, go into the guide sections and check them out. As far as homework, if any of those things that I've listed, your organization currently does not have in place, consider looking into that. So let's say if you find, we don't really partner as much, we just do it all ourselves. Well, what are some organizations within your areas that you can partner with to help support the programs that you have happening? Let's say you might say, we don't have an evaluation or monitoring system. We just do the program. We might collect some sign-in sheets. And then once the program is gone, it's gone. It's like, what are some evaluation and monitoring systems? What's some ways that you can track your success? So making sure that you do that. Our leadership, you may say, hey, our leadership team, they're good, but it's just like they don't quite get the mission. Well, what's some ways that you can do that? So looking at those tips that I provided, finding what areas that you may not have within your organization, and as homework, coming up with a plan on how you can build that portion in order for you to have a strong program. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Special thanks to this month's sponsor, ACES Matter. We had Cindy from ACES Matter come on. You also have to check that live out. It's pinned in the group. It was absolutely amazing. I always talk about how I feel as nonprofit leaders. We need to know our own adverse childhood experiences so that we can better serve our communities. So making sure that you check out ACES Matters at acesmatters.org. Also, register for one of our awareness parties. We have one coming up in March. You don't want to miss it. Register now. If you're like me, you got to do it right now. So we're going to drop that link. The link is in the chat box. Go ahead and click on that link and register to join an awareness party with us. We're so glad you all were able to tune in. And I will see you all next Thursday. Bye, everyone.